Hey everyone, thank you all so much for tuning in. Today I wanted to discuss 5 Spider-Man villains that I would like to see show up in Spider-Man 2. Before I get into those, I want to go over the criteria. These are characters that did not show up in the first game or the Miles Morales game and have not been confirmed for the upcoming Spider-Man 2 game. With that being said, I believe all 5 of these characters that I'm about to mention have a way that they could show up in the sequel, either because there's been some Easter eggs for them or there is narrative backbone in the source material that gives them a reason that they could show up in Insomniac's next Spider-Man installment. So starting in at number 5, I have the Chameleon. This is a character that I've actually made a whole video about and his possible appearance in Spider-Man 2. He's the half-brother of Kraven the Hunter, and his gimmick is that he can pretty much flawlessly impersonate anybody. Needless to say, he could make for a fantastic plot twist and some outstanding story potential. Whether he was impersonating one of the Spider-Men to ruin their reputation, impersonating someone in their personal lives to create a plot twist later in the story there, or somehow impersonating a politician to pull some of the strings behind the scenes, this would be a great inclusion to Spider-Man 2. At number 4, I have Morbius. Many of us know that Dr. Morgan Michaels is an alter ego for Michael Morbius in the comics, therefore this could be Insomniac's take on the living vampire. This is a character that only recently got his mainstream debut with Jared Leto, and well, reactions weren't the greatest. But Insomniac could really turn that around. They could take a lot of the aspects of Morbius that make him such a cool villain, and it would really follow the trend that they have set, where they take good people and put them in situations where they become villains. You look at Mr. Negative, you look at Doc Ock, you even look at Peter and what they're doing with him with the black suit, where you take these people who have good intentions and are trying to do the right thing, put them in a situation where they vow revenge or want to ruin somebody, and it turns them into something really dark. Michael Morbius would be another great example for that thesis. At number 3, I have Sandman. I mean, come on. We all saw that demo for the PS5 for Spider-Man 2, and we saw that amazing chase sequence with the Spider-Man chasing Lizard and Kraven's men involved, and the people at Insomniac have already said, yeah, you guys haven't seen anything yet. That is far from the coolest stuff in the game. I'm just imagining the particle effects that they could create on the current generation hardware. This is a character that has some really solid backstory in the source material as well, and I would like to see what Insomniac could do with him in the narrative, or maybe even in a side mission. But really, this is just one of those villains that hasn't had tons of appearances in Spider-Man games. He's been in more than one. He was in Shattered Dimensions, he was in Web of Shadows, but this is a character that we haven't really seen in a Spider-Man game for a while, and he feels like a good, iconic Spider-Man villain that Insomniac could do a lot with, especially in that boss battle. At number 2, I have Mysterio. Far From Home, I thought, did a great job with this character, and this was also a character that I remember fondly from the Spider-Man 2 game of 2004. I always loved that mission where you had to stop him from projecting himself onto the Statue of Liberty. I thought that it was funny how they did the Quentin Beck reveal. That game just handled him so well, but I don't really feel like there's a game that's handled him quite as well since then. I feel like they've maybe almost made him too much of an actual sorcerer in games. I like when he's just a regular guy who's like a VFX artist who tries to manipulate Spider-Man with illusions, and for a minute is successful. I think, once again, like Sandman, there is a huge potential for spectacle during the combat sequences with Mysterio. They could almost do what Rocksteady did in the Batman Arkham games with the Scarecrow nightmares, and they could just really create some fun, mind-bending situations. They could do almost the same kind of plot twist that I was mentioning with the Chameleon, where you think you're talking to someone and it turns out that it's just an illusion created by Mysterio. This is another iconic Spider-Man villain that wasn't in the 2018 game or in Miles Morales, but they have teased him. They had a little moment at the Halloween party in that first game where there's a hall of mirrors and one of the professors is pretending to be Mysterio, and I'd love to see this villain get his due completely in Spider-Man 2. The other thing that I love about Mysterio is that he's kind of different from a lot of the other villains that we're seeing here. A lot of the villains that have been revealed are potential prey for Kraven. I don't know that Kraven would have any interest whatsoever in taking on Mysterio, because again, he's usually just a VFX guy who's trying to make people think he has superpowers, and I think that that would be a good way to keep the pace fresh and do something a little bit different from the other villains in this game. And before I get to number 1, my honorable mention is Carnage, but with the caveat that I really want Carnage to be done justice. If they, for example, in this game have you fight Venom before Peter Parker gets the black suit, that could be interesting, because then when he removes the black suit, the final boss could be Carnage instead of just Venom. But I think that that all depends on on the length of the story, and if they're able to fully give Venom a good story arc, as well as the black suit for Peter, and give that a full good story arc, and then also give Carnage a good story arc, that might be too much for a single game. Actually, as I'm talking about it, I think they should save Carnage for the third game. But you never know. Maybe near the end of this game, Peter Parker and Venom and Miles will all team up to take on Carnage. But let's get into number one, which is the Green Goblin. This is another villain that has been teased heavily in the Insomniac universe. They've shown Norman Osborn with a green tint on his face a lot. We've actually seen the mask that will likely be used for the Green Goblin, as well as the pumpkin bombs. And with how good the Insomniac web swinging is and how fun and fluid it is, I can only imagine how great it would be to chase Norman Osborn as the Green Goblin around the city. This is another big Spider-Man villain that absolutely needs to have a full story arc, so if there's not room for him in Spider-Man 2, I'd rather that they wait for Spider-Man 3, but if there is a way to tie him into the story, if Venom is Harry, for example, and Norman becomes the Green Goblin to try to stop him, or to try to stop Kraven and the Spider-Men from taking Harry as Venom down, that could be a cool way to tie him in. If Harry dies at some point during this game, that could drive Norman over the edge and he could become the Green Goblin. This is another character that I could see becoming the primary antagonist of the third act. And this is another A-list Spider-Man villain that just hasn't appeared in tons of Spider-Man games, surprisingly, and I would love to see what Insomniac could do with him. Again, I obviously want them to do him justice. If that means saving him for the third game, so be it. But it would be a lot of fun to take on the Green Goblin in this game. So those are 5 more villains that I would like to see in Spider-Man 2. Please be sure to leave your top 5 in the comments below. I'd love to read over those. And also please be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and we will see you guys in the next one.